The massive Vraxian ship hung in orbit above Earth like a gray metal mountain. Its sharp edges and weapon ports made clear what the Vraxians valued most: strength and war. Lieutenant Samantha Kelly took a deep breath as her shuttle approached the alien vessel. As Earth's top xenolinguist, she had studied the Vraxian language for months. But theory was different from practice. "Ready, Lieutenant?" asked Captain Paul Ward, the mission commander. "As ready as I'll ever be, sir," Samantha replied, checking her translator device one last time. The human delegation was small, just 5 people sent to meet the leaders of a warrior race that could destroy Earth if they wanted. Samantha was the youngest at 29, but her gift for languages had made her essential to this mission. The shuttle docked with a metallic clang. When the doors opened, Samantha saw her first Vraxian up close. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, with gray-blue skin and 4 arms. Their eyes were large and yellow, set in faces that reminded her of cats mixed with lizards. "Welcome to the Vraxian command ship," said a translator voice. The Vraxian who spoke wore more decorations than the others. "I am High Commander Drentok." Samantha stepped forward, and to everyone's surprise, responded in the rough Vraxian language. "We bring greetings from Earth. We are honored by your welcome." A murmur went through the Vraxian welcoming party. Drentok's head tilted, a sign of interest in their culture. "You speak our tongue," he said, switching to Vraxian. "Unusual for a human." "I learned quickly," Samantha replied, careful to use the formal tones that showed respect. The delegation was led to a large meeting room. As they walked, Samantha noticed one Vraxian female watching her closely. This one was different. Her uniform showed high rank, but she stood apart from the others. During the meeting, Captain Ward presented Earth's proposals for trade and cultural exchange. The Vraxians listened but showed little interest until Samantha added comments in their language, explaining human concepts using Vraxian cultural references she had studied. After 3 hours, they took a break. Samantha went to a viewing window that showed Earth below. The female Vraxian who had been watching her approached. "You understand our ways better than the others," she said in English. "I try to," Samantha replied. "And you are?" "Commander Zareth, Fleet Combat Leader." The Vraxian stood with all 4 arms crossed, a defensive posture. "You are small, even for a human." Samantha smiled. "Size isn't everything, Commander. In battle, it is," Zareth said flatly. "Humans don't always fight with our bodies. Sometimes we use our minds." Zareth made a sound like a snort. "Minds don't stop plasma blasts." "No, but they might prevent them from being fired in the first place," Samantha replied. For a moment, Zareth stared at her. Then her mouth twitched in what might have been the Vraxian version of a smile. "You have spirit, little human. Strange, but not without merit." When meetings resumed, Samantha noticed that Zareth spoke up more often, especially when trade discussions stalled. By the end of the day, basic agreements were reached, though military alliance talks went nowhere. The Vraxians clearly didn't think humans could offer much in that area. As the human delegation prepared to leave, High Commander Drentok approached Samantha. "Lieutenant Kelly, we request your presence in the next diplomatic mission. Your understanding of our ways is useful." Samantha nodded, feeling both proud and nervous. "I would be honored." As she boarded the shuttle, she caught Zareth watching her again. The Vraxian gave her a small nod, not friendly, but respectful. It was a start. 6 months later, Samantha stood on Vraxian soil as the new Earth Embassy opened on their homeworld, and Commander Zareth was assigned as her official liaison, a position neither of them had requested. The true challenge was just beginning. 6 months passed quickly. The Earth Embassy on Vrax was small but busy, with Samantha Kelly working long hours as cultural attaché. Her office walls were covered with Vraxian writing and maps. Each morning, she practiced their language until her throat hurt. "Your accent is still terrible," Commander Zareth said one day as she entered without knocking. Vraxians didn't believe in privacy the way humans did. Samantha looked up from her desk. Then teach me better. Zareth made that noise that might be a laugh. I am a warrior, not a teacher. You're both, Samantha said, just as I'm both diplomat and student. Something in her words made Zareth pause. The tall alien warrior studied her with those large yellow eyes. Very well, but I will teach you more than words. If you want to understand Vraxians, you must learn combat. That was how Samantha found herself in the training yard the next morning, facing Zareth in a circle drawn on the hard dirt. Other Vraxians stopped to watch the small human female trying to learn their fighting moves. Your arms are too few and too weak, Zareth said, easily blocking Samantha's punch with one of her 4 arms. But you have quickness. Use it. Day after day, they trained. Samantha collected bruises like souvenirs, but she never quit. Slowly, she learned to use her smaller size against the bigger, stronger Vraxians. When she finally managed to knock Zareth down after 3 weeks of trying, several watching Vraxian warriors thumped their chests in approval. You learn, Zareth said, rising from the dirt. Was that pride in her voice? In return, Samantha taught Zareth about human culture. The Vraxian was confused by music at first, calling it organized noise. But Samantha caught her humming earth songs when she thought no one could hear. Your species makes no sense, Zareth complained during one lesson. You value strength but praise weakness. You fight wars but talk of peace. You are contradictions. That's what makes us interesting, Samantha replied with a smile. One day, a new shuttle arrived from Earth. Major Eric Daniels stepped out, his uniform crisp despite the long journey. He was the new military liaison, sent to work with the Vraxian Defense Forces. Lieutenant Kelly, he said formally, shaking her hand. Good to meet you in person after all our video calls. Samantha introduced him to Zareth, who looked down at the human male with clear doubt. Eric was tall for a human but still shorter than most Vraxians. His build was solid but not massive like Vraxian warriors. This is your military representative, Zareth asked, not hiding her disappointment. Major Daniels has 20 years of Special Forces experience, Samantha said. Zareth made a dismissive gesture with her lower arms. Experience fighting other humans, perhaps. The next day, a friendly demonstration was arranged in the training yard. Eric stood calmly as a Vraxian warrior twice his size circled him. When the alien charged, Eric moved like water. He didn't try to match strength with strength. Instead, he used the Vraxian's momentum against him. 3 moves later, the surprised warrior was on his back. 4 more opponents tried. All 4 ended up defeated. Zareth watched with narrowed eyes. Tricks, she said. Not real combat. The only true test of combat is survival, Eric replied quietly. Everything else is just practice. Over the following months, Eric and Samantha worked closely together. Zareth noticed how they looked at each other when they thought no one was watching. She didn't understand human mating rituals, but even she could see the connection growing between them. You're Eric Daniels, she said to Samantha during a training session. He fights well for a human. Coming from Zareth, this was high praise. Yes, Samantha said, a slight smile on her face. Yes, he does. What none of them knew was how important those fighting skills would become in the years ahead. 1 year passed. The relationship between Samantha and Eric grew from professional respect to deep love. Their work brought them together daily, and their shared experiences on an alien world created a bond few humans could understand. When they announced their plan to marry, the Earth Embassy staff celebrated. The Vraxians, however, were confused. Marriage is for continuing bloodlines, Zareth said when Samantha told her the news. You two are not even the same species. Humans marry for love, Samantha explained. Family comes after, but love comes first. Zareth's 4 arms crossed in her thinking pose. Love, this concept remains strange to me. Will you stand with me at the ceremony? Samantha asked. As my Vraxian witness. Zareth's yellow eyes widened. This is a great honor in your culture. It is, and it would mean a lot to me. You're my friend, Zareth. The word friend made the alien warrior uncomfortable, but she nodded once. I will stand with you. News of the human marriage spread across Vrax. Many saw it as a positive sign for human-Vraxian relations. Not everyone agreed. A group called the Pure Creed, led by War Master Kresh, spoke out against humans contaminating Vraxian culture. Despite this, preparations continued. The ceremony would combine both Earth and Vraxian traditions, a symbolic union of worlds. The night before the wedding, Zareth visited Samantha in her quarters. Tomorrow you join with your mail, she said awkwardly. I bring you this. She held out a small metal object, a combat pin worn by elite Vraxian warriors. This belonged to my mother, Zareth explained. She died in battle against the Morcani when I was young. She said true strength is finding someone who makes you stronger, not weaker. Samantha took the pin carefully. I'm honored. Thank you. Eric Daniels makes you stronger, Zareth said. It wasn't a question. Yes, Samantha replied. And I make him stronger too. Then perhaps there is wisdom in your human ways after all. The wedding day arrived. The great hall was filled with humans and Vraxians sitting side by side. Eric stood tall in his dress uniform. When Samantha entered in a white dress with Vraxian blue trim, he smiled so broadly that even the Vraxians could recognize his joy. Zareth stood beside Samantha, uncomfortable in ceremonial armor rarely worn by female warriors. On Eric's side stood his friend Captain Ben Collins, who had traveled from Earth for the occasion. The ceremony blended Earth vows with Vraxian honor pledges. When Samantha and Eric exchanged rings, Zareth presented them with a Vraxian blood bond knife, symbolizing their lives now joined as one. High Commander Drentok himself spoke at the end. Today we witness the union not just of two beings, but of two worlds. May this bond bring strength to both our peoples. At the celebration after, humans taught Vraxians to dance, while Vraxians showed humans their ritual combat games. Wine and Vraxian fire drink flowed freely. Even War Master Kresh attended, though his eyes showed disapproval as he watched the mixed crowd. Your ceremony was acceptable, Zareth told the couple later, which was high praise from her. Though your dancing needs work, Eric Daniels. Eric laughed. Maybe you can teach me, like you taught Samantha to fight. Perhaps, Zareth said with that almost smile. You humans continue to surprise me. Later that night, as Samantha and Eric stood on the balcony of their new shared quarters, they looked up at the stars. Do you think this will really help our people understand each other better? Samantha asked. Eric took her hand. One step at a time. That's how all great journeys begin. Neither of them saw War Master Kresh watching them from the shadows, his forehands clenched in anger. For him, their union was not a beginning, but a threat that needed to end. 2 years passed since the wedding. Samantha and Eric had built a good life together on Vrax. Their home combined human comfort with Vraxian design. Eric worked closely with the Vraxian Defense Forces as military liaison, while Samantha continued her cultural diplomacy work. But the galaxy was changing. A new species called the Morcani had begun aggressive expansion into territories near both human and Vraxian space. Reports came of destroyed outposts and missing ships. The Morcani respect only power, War Master Kresh said during an emergency council meeting. We must show them our strength. Eric spoke up. We should gather more intelligence before committing to military action. Kresh's yellow eyes narrowed. Typical human caution. While you gather your intelligence, the Morcani gather new weapons. Zareth, now promoted to fleet commander, stood between them. In the past 2 years, she had risen quickly through the ranks. Both approaches have merit, she said carefully. We prepare for battle while we learn more about our enemy. After the meeting, Zareth walked with Samantha through the stone corridors of the military complex. Kresh gains more supporters each day, Zareth said quietly. Many believe humans make us weak. And what do you believe? Samantha asked. Zareth paused before answering. I believe in strength, but I have learned there are many kinds of strength. That night, Eric received a message from Earth Command. He read it with a frown. "I need to return to Earth," he told Samantha. "Special training program. They want me to help develop new combat techniques against potential Morcani attacks." "How long?" Samantha asked. 3 months, maybe 4. She didn't like it, but she understood duty. "I'll be fine here. Zareth will keep an eye on me." 1 week after Eric left, things began to change. Samantha noticed Vraxians watching her in the streets. Some shops refused to serve her. The embassy received threatening messages. "It's nothing," the ambassador told her. "Just a few extremists." But it wasn't just a few. When Samantha went to her regular training session, Zareth was not alone. War Master Kresh stood with her. "Commander Zareth has important duties," Kresh said. "She will no longer train with humans." Samantha looked at Zareth, who kept her eyes down. "Is this true?" "I have new responsibilities," Zareth said stiffly. That same week, news came of a Morcani attack on a human science vessel. Vraxian ships nearby had not responded to distress calls. Humans were angry. Vraxians claimed no messages were received. Samantha tried to contact Zareth several times, but her friend was always unavailable. When they finally met at an official function, Zareth stood with other military leaders, her posture rigid. "Fleet Commander," Samantha said formally, "may we speak privately?" "I have duties," Zareth replied, not meeting her eyes. "We used to be friends," Samantha said quietly. "Vraxians do not have friends. We have allies and enemies." Zareth's voice was cold. 2 days later, disaster struck. A joint human-Vraxian research outpost near the border reported an attack before going silent. Both sides sent ships to investigate. The Earth Embassy became tense as news spread that Vraxian authorities were implementing security measures. More guards appeared at the embassy gates. Humans were advised not to leave the compound. Samantha received a coded message from Eric. "Something's wrong. Trust no one. Looking for earliest transport back." That night, Samantha was working late when alarms sounded across the city. Her computer screen flashed with emergency alerts. Border stations under attack, communications disrupted. She was downloading data when her office door opened. Zareth stood there in full battle armor, flanked by armed guards. "Samantha Kelly Daniels," she said formally. "By order of War Master Kresh, all humans are to be placed under protective custody." "Protective custody?" Samantha stood. "You mean arrested." "It is for your own safety," Zareth said, but her eyes said something different. The galaxy was about to change, and not for the better. The detention center was cold and gray. Samantha sat on a hard bench in a small room with no windows. 3 days had passed since Zareth had arrested her. 3 days with little food and less information. The door slid open. War Master Kresh entered, his massive frame filling the doorway. Behind him stood Zareth, her face a mask. The Morcani attack was just the beginning. Kresh said without greeting. "Our outposts report more ships moving toward Vraxian space." "Human ships?" Samantha asked, though she knew the answer. "Morcani," Kresh replied. "But how do they know our defense patterns? How do they disable our communication systems so easily?" Samantha understood now. "You think humans helped them." Kresh's upper arms spread wide. "The evidence is clear. Your husband returned to Earth just before the attacks began. A human science vessel was seen near the border station before it was destroyed." "That's not evidence," Samantha said. "That's coincidence twisted to fit what you want to believe." Kresh turned to leave. "Fleet Commander Zareth will continue this discussion. She has special methods approved for times of war." When he was gone, Zareth stepped closer. "You should tell me what you know," she said quietly. "I know that someone is manipulating both our peoples," Samantha replied. "The data I was downloading when you arrested me shows Morcani signals mimicking both human and Vraxian communications. They're trying to make us fight each other." "Show me this data," Zareth demanded. "It's on my office computer. Let me access it, and I can prove what I'm saying." For a moment, Zareth seemed to consider this. Then her face hardened again. "War Master Kresh has checked your files." There was nothing. "He's lying to you," Samantha insisted. "Zareth, we've known each other for years. You stood at my wedding. Would I betray you? Would Eric?" Zareth's yellow eyes showed conflict, but her voice remained cold. "War changes people." Two guards entered carrying a strange device. Samantha recognized it from her cultural studies. A neural probe, forbidden by Vraxian law except in the most extreme cases. It could extract information directly from a brain, but often caused severe damage. "No," Samantha said, standing up. "Zareth, you can't do this. It's against your own laws." "War Master Kresh has authorized it," Zareth said, but her lower arms trembled slightly. "This isn't you," Samantha pleaded. "You know this is wrong." The guards moved forward. One held Samantha down while the other prepared the device. Zareth watched, her face struggling to remain emotionless. "Last chance," Zareth said. "Tell me what you know about the Human-Morcani Alliance." "There is no alliance," Samantha said firmly. "Search my mind if you must. You'll see the truth." The device was cold against her temple. Pain shot through her head as it activated. Samantha screamed once, then fell into darkness filled with broken memories and shattered thoughts. Hours later, Zareth stood before War Master Kresh in his command center. "Well," he demanded, "what did you learn?" "Nothing," Zareth admitted. She knows nothing of any alliance. Her mind showed only confusion about the attacks. Kresh slammed all four fists on his desk. "Impossible. The evidence is clear." "May I see this evidence myself?" Zareth asked. Kresh glared at her. "You question me. Remember your place, Fleet Commander." As she left his office, Zareth passed a communications officer who whispered quickly to her, "A human diplomatic vessel has just entered our space. It's registered to Colonel Eric Daniels." Zareth froze. Eric was back, and he would soon learn what she had done to his wife. In the medical ward, Samantha lay unconscious, her mind broken by the neural probe. The doctors said she might recover, but no one knew for sure. The line had been crossed, and there was no going back. The small human shuttle entered Vraxian space without fanfare. It carried only 5 people, Colonel Eric Daniels and 4 crew members. No weapons were visible on the craft's exterior, and it followed all Vraxian approach protocols perfectly. War Master Kresh watched the ship's approach on the command center's main screen. A single vessel. The humans send one ship to address this crisis. Colonel Daniels requests permission to dock and discuss his wife's situation, a communications officer reported. Kresh made a sound of disgust. "Let him come. Let him see how weak humans truly are." The landing bay was filled with armed Vraxian guards when Eric stepped off his shuttle. He wore a simple black uniform with minimal insignia. His face showed no emotion as he was escorted to the diplomatic hall. War Master Kresh sat on an elevated platform, surrounded by military advisors. Zareth stood to one side, her posture rigid. "Colonel Eric Daniels," Kresh announced, "you come at a difficult time. Your wife stands accused of espionage against the Vraxian Empire." Eric's voice was calm. "I request to see my wife." "She is recovering," Kresh said with a slight pause. The questioning process was necessary, but unfortunately intense. Eric's eyes moved to Zareth. Something passed between them. A flash of guilt from her, a flicker of understanding from him. "I have come to resolve this situation peacefully," Eric said, returning his attention to Kresh. "Earth has no alliance with the Morcani. We are as much their targets as you are." Kresh leaned forward. "Words. Humans are good with words. We prefer actions." "Then let me take action," Eric replied. "I request trial by combat." The room went silent. Trial by combat was an ancient Vraxian tradition, rarely invoked in modern times. It allowed an accused person to fight for their freedom, rather than face standard justice. "You invoke sacred law." Kresh asked, clearly surprised. As is my right as the spouse of the accused, Eric said. I will stand as Samantha's champion. Murmurs filled the hall. Humans weren't supposed to know these old laws. Eric had clearly studied Vraxian culture deeply. Kresh recovered quickly. Very well. As War Master, I select Fleet Commander Zareth as my champion. Zareth's head snapped up in shock. She had not expected this. The combat will take place tomorrow at first light, Kresh announced. Until then, Colonel Daniels will be given quarters under guard. As the hall emptied, Zareth approached Eric. The guards moved to stop her, but she dismissed them with a gesture. You must know what happened, she said quietly. I know enough, Eric replied. I've seen the medical reports. Then why challenge me? You cannot win. Eric's eyes were steady. I didn't come here to win a fight, Zareth. I came here to expose the truth. Later that night, Zareth slipped into the medical ward. Samantha lay on a bed, her eyes closed, her breathing shallow. The neural probe had left no physical marks, but the damage inside her mind was severe. I am sorry, Zareth whispered, though she knew Samantha couldn't hear her. I followed orders when I should have followed honor. A noise at the door made her turn. Eric stood there, flanked by guards, but somehow seeming free despite them. They let me see her, he said simply. Zareth stepped back. Tomorrow we fight. Tomorrow we find the truth, Eric corrected. Will you help me discover it, or will you keep hiding from it? As she left, Zareth felt something she had rarely experienced, fear, not of combat, but of facing what she had become, and what Eric Daniels might be capable of when fighting for someone he loved. Across the city, War Master Kresh opened a secret communication channel. The face that appeared was neither human nor Vraxian. The plan proceeds, the Morcani agent said. Soon they will destroy each other, and both worlds will be ripe for conquest. Dawn broke over the Vraxian capital. The combat arena, rarely used in modern times, was filled to capacity. Vraxian officials sat in the front rows, with human diplomats opposite them. News of the trial by combat had spread quickly. War Master Kresh looked pleased as he took his place in the command box. This would be a perfect demonstration of Vraxian superiority. The arena gates opened. Zareth entered first, wearing traditional combat armor. All four of her arms carried ceremonial weapons, a shock staff, a blade whip, a plasma dagger, and a throwing disc. The crowd roared its approval. Eric Daniels entered from the opposite side. He wore a simple black uniform with no armor. Most shocking to the crowd, he carried no weapons at all. Murmurs of confusion spread through the arena. Is this some kind of human joke? Kresh demanded. Eric stood calmly in the center of the arena. No joke. I am ready. Zareth approached, her expression troubled. You face me unarmed. I have what I need, Eric replied. The combat horn sounded. Zareth hesitated, then moved forward, testing Eric with her shock staff. He dodged with surprising speed. Again and again she struck, but could not touch him. Fight me, she demanded. I am, Eric said. Frustrated, Zareth unleashed her blade whip. The crowd gasped as Eric caught it with his bare hand. Blood dripped from his palm, but he didn't flinch. With a quick twist, he pulled Zareth off balance and moved inside her guard. What happened next amazed everyone watching. Eric touched specific points on Zareth's body, places where Vraxian nervous systems were vulnerable. Her lower right arm went numb, then her upper left. Impossible, someone in the crowd whispered. No human knows those weaknesses. But Eric did know. During his months on Earth, he had studied Vraxian physiology intensively. He had developed fighting techniques specifically designed to counter their strengths. Zareth fought hard, but Eric seemed to predict her every move. When she used the throwing disc, he deflected it toward the command box, forcing Kresh to duck. When she drew her plasma dagger, Eric caught her wrist in a lock that made her drop it. You cannot win, she growled. I already have, Eric replied. With a final series of strikes, Eric brought Zareth to her knees. The arena went silent as he stood over her, his hand raised for a finishing blow. Instead, he offered his hand to help her up. "Tell them," he said quietly. "Tell them the truth you discovered." Zareth looked at his hand, then at the watching crowd. Her voice rang out. "War Master Kresh has betrayed us all. He works with the Morkani." Chaos erupted. Guards moved toward Kresh, who shouted for order. From his pocket, Eric pulled a small device and activated it. The arena's main screen flickered to life, showing intercepted communications between Kresh and Morkani agents. "This is what I found on the files Samantha downloaded," Eric announced. The files Kresh claimed didn't exist. Kresh lunged for an emergency exit, but found his path blocked by Vraxian security forces. As he was taken away, he screamed threats that no one listened to. Later, in the medical ward, Eric sat beside Samantha's bed, holding her hand. Her eyes flickered open. "Eric," she whispered. "I'm here," he said, smiling. "We've found the truth." Zareth entered hesitantly, her armor removed, her posture humble. "The healers say she will recover fully. The damage was less than I feared." Samantha looked at Zareth, then at Eric. "What happened while I was out?" "Your husband showed us what human strength truly is," Zareth said. "Not in muscles or weapons, but in mind and heart." 1 month later, a new alliance was formed between Earth and Vrax. Together, they sent a united message to the Morkani, 2 worlds standing as one. And at the signing ceremony, 3 figures stood together: a human woman, a human man, and a Vraxian warrior who had learned that sometimes the strongest bonds are forged when lines are crossed and then rebuilt stronger than before.